Maxie, I've been thinking, should we do season 3 on the Dr. Joe show? You sure? You sure it's a good idea? That's what I'm talking about. Welcome to the Dr. Joe Show. I'm Joe, and today we continue our All About Aging series. We're in episode 3, part 2, where we will be continuing with the setup of our Prometheus 100 count humidor. In part 1 of this episode, we talked a little bit about desktop humidors, what to look for when buying one briefly, construction methods, various construction methods, miter joints versus locking miter joints, etc., etc. But most importantly, we got into the setup and seasoning of this humidor. For our purposes here in this episode, we broke out our Prometheus 100 count humidor, brand new, never been seasoned, never seen a cigar, and proceeded to set it all up with, hygrometer, hydration unit, and of course our distilled water loaded into some clean, brand new household sponges. And that is where we left off. I stressed in that episode, at the end and throughout, the same thing I'm going to stress in this episode at the beginning. Seasoning a desktop humidor requires 2 main ingredients: distilled water and double that amount in patience. Patience, patience, patience. I want to make it clear here that when I say 4 days to season a humidor, that is to me the maximum, the maximum of the least, the absolute least amount of time you want to put into the process. I highly recommend extending that amount of time to, 6 days, even a week. It can't hurt. It can't hurt. And if you're afraid of over seasoning, that's something that really rarely happens. You would have to load the sponges several times and have the thing sitting for 3 weeks. If you're worried about over seasoning, that is something that rarely happens. Technically, you'd have to refill the sponges again and again and keep the humidor shut for weeks to actually get it to a point where the wood is too wet. Even so, I'm going to show you a method to combat the excess humidity that resides within the humidor in the beginning when you're first putting your cigars in. So don't worry about that. Now, all that being said, we're going to open up our Prometheus humidor and we're going to look inside. And if everything went as expected, our hygrometers should be reading 80 or above. Now I want to make 2 things clear. Number 1, what I did was I waited 4 days, opened the humidor, trickled a little more water on the sponges, closed it back up. At that point, they were already at 80. Sometimes they can reach 80 in only 2 days. But that's where I warn you, do not be fooled by the humidity that resides in the box. It's not the humidity residing in the wood itself. That takes time. That is where those extra days are essential. So we let it sit. We even open it up on the 4th day, trickle a little more water onto the sponges, close it another day, another 2 if you're patient. Wonderful. And that is where it's time to open it up. The second thing I want to point out is, as I made clear in the first episode, I don't even know why we bothered. The Prometheus hygrometer, I knew for a fact from having used it previously, is broken. It's off. Hygrometers are very sensitive. Very sensitive. And even the best digital hygrometers really read within 5% or so, that would be considered a great hygrometer of an accurate humidity reading. You know, if I take a whole bunch of caliber 3 hygrometers, the ones I really love to use, I live by, I think they're great. They've always told the truth for me. Very rarely have I had one that's all the way at 5 degrees off. I have about 20 of them. You know, I'll take them all, put them in my Humidor, and wait. And, you know, you'll see a bunch that are somewhere at like 65, then some will be 66, 67, some will be 68, some will be 64, 63, and then you'll have the oddball that reads 60 or 70. And, you know, those aren't in tune, you know, and that's where a hygrometer with calibration comes in handy, but those are easier to screw up, you know. So I stick with the caliber 3s. I got 2 in here, and we'll see where those are at. I know for a fact the Prometheus hygrometer is going to be way too high. Another thing to note about digital hygrometers, or any hygrometer really, the higher your humidity level, the less accurate they become. You know, due to a whole bunch of complications involving water vapor pressure and things of that nature, air pressure, they become less accurate at higher humidity levels. Last time I checked, it was at 99. Okay, but both of my caliber 3s were reading 82, 83, which is exactly where we want it. So we're going to open this up, we're going to see what we find, and if we like it, we're going to give a bunch of cigars a new home. All right, so let's take a peek inside and see what we find. All right, hygrometer number 1, 83%. Hygrometer number 2, 86%, 3% difference, but that's fine. And our Prometheus hygrometer, what did I tell you? 99%. Okay, so this guy we're not going to use. Get rid of that. And this is wonderful. This is really good. This is exactly what we want. And like I said, see, it's dropping to 78 already. As soon as I open it and take it out, it's going to start dropping. 84, okay? So our hygrometers are really good, and it's ready to receive the cigars. We're going to remove the sponges. They've lost a lot of weight. They're still wet. And that's it. So, I replaced the Prometheus hygrometer with the caliber 3 hygrometer, and that's fine for now. You know, if you were really picky and wanted the exact hygrometer, you can buy the thing, but in my opinion, it's way overpriced for what it is, especially the fact that it's just not, it's not right. $40 it's rated at, you know, so whatever. This one's working nice. It's dropped to 66 now. So let's close the box up, and we're going to fill it up with some cigars. You know, ideally, I wanted to fill it up with 3 different Cuban cigars I smoke every day. Right now, I have 2 brands that I'm going to put in there, and I'll decide on the 3rd some other time, which is a good thing because we will want to come back to this eventually and check on it to show how it's working and how everything has, you know, been maintained and whether or not it's functioning correctly. So, I have chosen number 1, Ramon Alones Specially Selected, or Ramonayones Specially Selected. Nice Ziploc here of, I think, 21 or 22 cigars. I smoked a few. Our second box is a beautiful box of 25, well, 23. Again, I smoked some. 23 Joya de Monterrey Epicure number 2. So I am very happy with where our humidity is at in this box. Excellent. And we're going to fill it up with some cigars. So there you go. There you have it. It's all filled up. Now, I told you in the beginning, sometimes you have a lot of extra humidity because of the seasoning process. That's why, even if I'm using this, which I'm going to top off again, you know, after the seasoning, it's a good idea, just top off your sponge. Make sure it's fully loaded. And then I throw in a couple of Boveda bags, like so. All right? There may be cigars there. If there were cigars there, I just put them right on. In fact, you know, but for looks' sakes, for the camera, I'll put them over here. All right? So you throw those in there, and what those will do is suck up anything over 69. It's going to get the box nice and perfect. Little trick I just wanted to show you, I forgot. If you put cigars in here, you know, you can use these just like they're used in cabinet boxes, or if you have a dress box, in a dress box, you may have to cut a dress box to size. But if I wanted to protect upper layers from this, I can just throw this wood right over there like that, and it even fits right in there, you know? So that is also a little trick. Don't worry, the humidity will get under, you know? But the last thing in the world you want is cigars too close to this thing. That is always the major problem with hydration units. That's what will get you mold faster than anything and oversaturate your cigars. So I like getting a few pieces of cedar. It's especially nice if you have the matching brand. I'm just kind of laying it right over there. We're going to close it up. We're going to bring it downstairs. And I'm going to check on it every so often. At this point, like I said, I'm going to top off the sponge, close it up. A few hours later, come back, check on it. The Boveda bags, I'm not worried. If it's a little high, I'm not worried. Those Boveda bags will even it out. If you're not using the Boveda bags and the wood has sucked up a lot of moisture and you're opening it up and it's constantly hitting 80, you might have to leave the box open, half hour, close it, see where it pops up to, check on it. You're going to have to do some fiddling, you know. With the Boveda bags, it eliminates that. You close it. If you open it and it's at 80, you know it's okay. A few hours later, it'll be down to 69. Those bags will do the trick. You got to let them work. So, you know, I check on it, and then let's say everything's starting to look good. I'll let 5 days go by. Check on it. Looks good. Close it. Let 2 weeks go by. Check on it. You know, everything's good. You have to. It's like developing a relationship. You know, you develop trust for a humidor that it's going to keep your cigars okay. And I trust no humidor until I know it's working, because sometimes you know it may not be the humidor. Maybe the wood was clogged and it didn't suck up the water enough. You know, it may not be a seal. It could be a million different things. If it's not working, usually it's the seal. But you got to go back, retrace your steps, make sure you did everything right. In this case, I think we're good to go. I'm 99.999% sure. I'm going to bring it downstairs, and we're going to take a look at some of my other boxes real quick, see how I have them set up, just for your enjoyment, and, well, your general knowledge, to see if you say, oh, I like the way that's set up, let me do something like that. And that's it. All right, we are back. I got my cigar lit. Thank goodness, I really needed that. Hope you don't mind if I smoke. I'll have to put this to the side in a minute. But what we're going to do now that our Prometheus humidor is back in its proper place, and I got to tell you, I'm very happy with the results so far as the seasoning has gone. It's gone like it should, like it has every other time, as long as the humidor is good. Like I said, the method I showed you, if the humidor is a good humidor, it'll work every time. You don't need to wipe the wood down. You know, you don't need to put shot glasses full of water in there. That's just a hazard, okay? Do what I showed you and add lots of patience. It's all about patience. It's like aging cigars. There is no speeding up this process. The only way you can speed up this process is through methods that can potentially have long-term damaging effects on your humidor. You know, and especially if you go out and you buy a box for $500, $1,000, $1,500, $2,000, $3,000, you don't want to fucking start wiping. Just don't. Anyway, everything you saw there is exactly how it should happen. After 4 days, above 80%, add a little water, give it a little more time, you know, and you saw when we opened it that it's at 80%, and it drops, of course, because you opened it, but if you close it and open it again, it should pop back up. If it doesn't, that's a sign that it's really not ready yet, you know? So everything is good. The cigars are in it, and I will come back to it and check on it and give you an update on how it's doing in the future. But for now, what we're going to do is go over a few of the humidors I have down here. And I got to tell you, the ones I have down here, it's a great selection as far as the show is concerned, because each one operates very differently. They're all using different humidification methods, and that's what I want you to pay close attention to. Yes, you'll be looking at some of my cigars. A lot of people have been commenting, oh, we want to see what's in the box, we want to see. Fine. I'll show you a little bit. I'll show you some cigars. I'm not going to go digging down to the bottom, but I'll show you a fair share. But I want you to pay attention to how these boxes operate. So, why don't we get started? This one here, let's open her up and see what we got. Here's my hygrometer. Look at that. Perfect 70%. Perfect. This thing has been really, I love this hygrometer. It's one of those $20, $30 jammies, standard analog hygrometer. And look at that, 70 fucking percent. And I've tuned it to digital hygrometers to the point where it's extremely accurate. I don't have temperature in this box, you know, because it's a desktop humidor and the temperature is what it is. I have temperature in one of my other boxes, but like I said, it is what it is. You know, you move it to a cooler place in the summer, a warmer place in the winter, that's the best you can do. But this box is one of my first boxes. It really does represent my early cigar collecting years, or my early cigar years. I bought it in upstate New York over a decade ago. You know, I like the unique shape of it. I bought this way before I knew anything about Elie Bleus or Daniel Marshalls, and you know, I went for the glass top. I like the cube shape, and lucky for me, it happens to work. It was a little over $100, and it's a no-name humidor. There's no brand on it. So what you have here is your standard nightmare when it comes to the beginner cigar enthusiast and someone who has not set up humidors before. Remember what I said about humidors with trays can be a real nightmare if you're using a sponge unit. It's really difficult to get all that humidity through the extra tray of wood to where you want it. And, you know, in the beginning I tried it, and all I got was a bunch of mold on the cigars on the top and dry cigars at the bottom. You know, and then the thing would just dry out. So what did I do? Well, I like these things. This is called a cigar saver. These actually come in boxes of a lot of the Altatis brand cigars, like Dominican Monte Cristos or Romeo y Juliet's. And all you do is soak them in distilled water, and these beads puff up into gel, and you can see that there's a lot of gel left in there, which means it's still working fine. And I'm going to pull this tray out here. You know, this tray, you'll see it's got some Aurora Proferidos, and you know what? I'll stick it over. You know. It's got some Aurora Proferidos, different colors mean different wrappers. Connecticut, an Ecuadorian, Maduro, Corojo. The Corojo I don't have actually. That's the gold one. Then I have some Romeo y Julieta Limitadas. These are very nice. These are actually very nice. Dominican cigars, they're also very expensive, but they are nice. Zeno Rocket, another very expensive cigar. And then in the chamber, it's basically 3 chambers that go all the way down. I would say there's probably somewhere between 75 and 100 cigars in here. And I got a bunch of tubos over here. Some higher end, you know, again, stuff I bought so many years ago. Partagas Ducatus. Got some Flying Pigs, all right. Got some, Padron, regular Padrones. Got a Fire, that's a nice one. You know, just a bunch of different types. Another Ducatus, so I got 3 different size Ducatus in here. What's this? Another Got a Fire, a different one. I actually, you know, it's the Don Carlos and the Carlito Fuente blends. Each one made their own blend, and there's 2 different formats back then. Those God of Fires are like from 2007 or something. You know, then I got a lot of Gurkha. One chamber goes all the way down. Me and my friend used to collect Gurkha singles, and we would try to outdo each other with who had more Gurkhas. And that's from those days past. So I have a whole bunch of, you know, Beauty, Status, those fancy tubo types, you know, and then you have your newer ones on top. This is the Assassin, I believe. No, this is the Archive. Archive. Here's an older one. Warlord. The old Gurkha Warlord. And look, $12.95, so you know that's pretty old. Another one here. Which Seduction. Yeah, look. Here's one of my. This one's fairly hard to find these days, I believe. Grand Age. All right. So a lot of and it just goes down and down and down. It's about 7 or 8 layers of 3. It goes down. So I got a nice Gurkha collection. And to tell you the truth, tobacco's tobacco. And you have good tobacco, bad tobacco. But a lot of the times you get a really nice blend from cigar brands you wouldn't necessarily try. I'm not a huge Gurkha fan, but I do buy Gurkhas when they come out. Any new cigar that comes out, I'm going to buy one. If I see it and I haven't smoked it before, I'm smoking it. So, because you never know what you're going to find. They may hit gold at some point, and it's just fun to taste all the different profiles and stuff like that. I got some, we reviewed one of these, a Gurkha Grand Age, some more La Aurora, got some My Father, got some Camacho, old Camacho before Davidoff got a hold of them, the old style bands. This is a 10th anniversary. I have a Liga Privada that I actually put in a cellophane because this is a very early Liga, very early, around when they first came out. I know, is this the one? I can't tell, it might be. I have one that's hand-signed. They had some very rare ones that they actually wrote Liga Privada number 9 on the band. So that's that. More Camacho and this stuff. Cigar gel, glycol crystals. And it's called Crystal Clear Humidifier, regulates humidity to 70%. Well, yeah, it does. I had 70% on my hygrometer. As you can see, there's jelly in this jar. And when it dries up, it just becomes small, tiny little beads. You can hardly even see them. And you add water and they blow up. So you know that when it looks like this, when it looks like that, when it looks like ice, it's good. Then you just want to add some distilled water. You pop off the cap, you throw some water in there. In fact, since we have everything out right now, why don't we just throw a little bit of water in there? I'll show you how easy it is, how worry-free this thing can be. And I'm not saying that look, I like Boveda bags. They're just, forget it, talk about worry-free. But in certain humidors, you may have a humidor where you say, hey, this might be a good solution, because the cool thing about this, let me tell you something. I've had this since I bought this humidor. This thing is like fucking 10 years old. Oh, maybe I bought it a little after. But it's old, at least 7 or 8 years. And, and it still works great. Every time it dries up, got my distilled water. I just dump a bunch in there. You don't even have to let it, you don't have to worry. Bang. And then I just drop it back to the bottom of my box. All right. And so by doing that, by utilizing that and having this setup, I can fit a lot of cigars, and I have a humidity source on the bottom and a humidity source on the top that both operate on the same principle, soaking beads, gel crystals in distilled water. And everything works like a charm. So that's that humidor. You may have noticed that along the edge of the humidor, I'll open it back up so you can see again, along the edge of the humidor, and I didn't see this when I bought the thing, there seems to be a repair. The wood goes all the way, and then all of a sudden there's a little rectangle cut out that somebody stuck another piece of wood in. It's so funny, and the thing actually just works fine. It's also standard miter joints, not locking, of course. It does have a lock, and I like that. So that's that humidor. It's a very simple, standard $100, $120 humidor that works really well. Would I store my best cigars in here? No. But it works great for the situation I have it in. A lot of cigars in cellophane, which, remember, like I said, cigars in cellophane, they hold on a lot longer. This thing can drop. Let's say my water runs out, and that takes quite a while for that Zycar crystal thing to run out. Let's say it runs out, drops down to 60, even 55% humidity. It could be like that for a good 2-3 weeks, and these cigars are going to be okay. As long as there's at least 50% humidity and they're in cellophane, they'll be okay for that time. But don't try it. I mean, don't do it intentionally. But if there was an emergency and something like that happened, I feel safe, If the cigars were not in cellophane, I would not be happy. So that's that. Let's move on to our next humidor, the Elie Bleu. Here's the Elie Bleu. Let's take a look at that. There we go. Right near 70%. You can see right there, it's about 68, 69. And this box has a bit of a story behind it. Oh, look at that. Ah, the aroma is wonderful. A lot of cigars without cellophane in here, mostly Padrones. And I'm just getting a wonderful aroma. So, as we look at some of the cigars in here, I'll tell you a story. Number one, you could see right away. Flawless locking miter joint construction. You'll see locking miter joint construction on the Daniel Marshall that I have up there. But it's nowhere near as pristine as what you see here. Just incredible. You're paying a lot of extra money, but you really do get better craftsmanship. Does it affect the humidity? Not really. It can affect the integrity of the box over a long time, but just know that you're paying for a superior grade construction, and that is really what you're getting. Don't let them tell you otherwise. Now, this box, you have a bunch of between the lines up in here. Hemingway, between the lines. Some special Lost City shapes, Perfecto and a Love Affair. Some nice little things there. We got some, what do we got here? Destino al Siglo. Which shape is that? Oh, the Black Orchid. But a Destino al Siglo version. And then a chili pepper, a Forbidden X chili pepper. So this box is where I keep my highest end non-Cubans. My highest end Dominican and Nicaraguan cigars. You have a lot of Padron 45s, 85s, 46s, 45 Naturals. A really nice old Davidoff Special T. The wrapper is starting to feel like really silky. Wrapper texture changes over time with aging a lot of the time. Very often wrappers will develop different characteristics. All the cigars in here have become exceptionally smooth. Let's take some more of these out. We'll take out these 45s here. I'll take out the 46. I'll take out this whole row so we can see what's under it. You got 85s, 45s. Underneath you have more 45s. You have some beautiful Padron 40ths. These two I picked up, simply because the construction on these, like sometimes you come across a box of Padrones that's just holy shit. I mean, it's a perfect box press, and the points of them are so symmetrical and come to like this needle tip. Whoever was rolling on this day loved what they were doing. I mean, these things are just absolutely beautiful. So I got two 40ths. I really do, when it comes to specialty cigars, I like to have pairs so I can smoke them with somebody should the occasion arise. It's going out. Okay. But this ain't about the cigar. Opus A's. Got some big ass Opus A's over here. Special cigars. Here's a Casa Fuente a viewer sent me. This, you have to go to Casa Fuente in Las Vegas to get your hands on one. So he went for me and he sent me a few. That's just one of them. I think, I gotta check again. I think you might be able to get them at Tampa Sweethearts. Maybe. 2007 Opus X, Taurus. Big guy, Opus 13, very rare. Gran Aniversario, one of the first ones that came out. This is a very early version. Got some Ashton ESGs in the box. Got a Davidoff 100th anniversary. Rare cigar. Don Carlos 2006 band's 30th anniversary. Don Carlos 76th. This is very rare. There's some stories behind the cigars in this box, as there is a story behind the box itself, and I'll take a moment to tell you. Two cigars in here were given to me personally. This one was given to me by Don Carlos I think Carlito gave it to me. Yes, Carlito handed it to me at the cigar shop that I used to work at. This was celebrating Don Carlos' 76th birthday. Very rare off cigar. You know, the only way to really get one was to have him hand it to you. More 45s. 45 Maduros from the year that they were dubbed Cigar of the Year. So these are getting old now. Look at the oil coming out of this thing. I mean, holy crap. Ola. Very, very nice. Then we have, here it is, Padron 44. This one was handed to me personally by Jose Padron, and who at the cigar shop we would simply call the old man, affectionately, of course. He would walk around with a shirt pocket full of 44s. This was the cigar he smoked. And what a character. What a great guy to talk to and deal with. And he handed me that, so I can't bear to smoke it. Some cigars I have, I'm just like, you know, they're special. They were given to me by special people in the cigar industry, and I keep them. And one day I will light them up. But, you know, we'll see when that time comes. I'm not sure yet. And that's about it. Down at the bottom, more Lost City, more Opus X, more, here's a nice one. Here's a 2007 Scorpion Fuente, Opus X. So a lot of really cool off-brand cigars, you know, that, just a lot of nice stuff. It's a dream humidor. Elie Bleu is really awesome. They really are. You know, it's the only humidor I use with the actual hydration unit it comes with and never have a problem. So they're just made exceptionally well. They work exceptionally well. You will pay exceptionally more for this humidor, but it is an awesome box. I would say this box probably came from around when Elie Bleu. It looks like a 1970s piece for some reason to me, but you know, I can't be sure. I'd have to have a humidor collector look into it. So let me put this away, and we'll get to our Daniel Marshall. So here we are with our Daniel Marshall. Daniel Marshall. Nice big box, technically sold as a 150 count humidor. Probably almost has that many cigars in it. Maybe 125, 120, we'll see. This box operates on Boveda. Boveda. A lot of Boveda. Again, it is a shelf unit box. This box cost about $600, $400 cheaper than the Prometheus, yet it does use locking miter joint construction. The smell is just gorgeous. It has an inside tray, and this is where I store my loose Cuban singles. Well, some of them anyway, not my aged ones. But, well, these are pretty much getting, but you know what I mean, not my really old age singles. But we got a lot of different cigars here, some regional editions. You got your some nicer singles from boxes that I smoke and say I got to keep one of these. For instance, here's a D4 from that 2009 box that I keep talking about. I love that box. I wish I could get another one. Just a fantastic box of Cuban cigars. You have your, here's an older Juan Lopez Selection Suprema, some Cohiba Robusto, Partagas Reserva, very nice cigar. Let's see, here's El Rey del Mundo Choix de la Paix that we reviewed and smoked, and one of those. Ramon Alone Swiss edition, here's one, and we need to review this brand. This is the La Flor del Cano, Regional Edition Reno Unido, a short Robusto, and it's the first regional edition that came out for this brand and really played the biggest part in reviving this name to become known among modern day Cuban cigar enthusiasts at all. La Flor del Cano. Very good cigar, by the way. Very good cigar, and quite a few regional editions have come out for that brand. There was like a giant one, a Gigantes, something for another regional. There were a few. Anyway, let's see. What else do we have here? Some Bejiques, Exclusivo China. I have the jar full of these, but I have one on the side so I don't have to open the jar. Less you play with the jars, the better. So I keep one of something I may want to smoke at some point on the side. We're going to review this soon. Here is a La Gloria Cubana Inmenso, all right, from the original production run, and we'll be smoking that. Here's a nice Bolivar United Arab Emirates that a friend gave me a while back. Here's a cigar with a story to it. Monte Cristo number 4, and you'll notice that the band is quite old. This cigar was found in an abandoned locker at the cigar shop, a locker that a customer just disappeared and stopped paying for. And, you know, he had bought the locker when the cigar shop first opened up around 98 or 99 and paid for it for over a decade, and then all of a sudden just vanished. And when we swooped down onto the locker like a bunch of ravenous vultures, we were sad to discover that it was full of nothing but fucking fakes. Boxes of fake Cuban cigars. But there was a small baggie that somebody else must have given him that contained a few of the genuine article. One of them being this Monte Cristo number 4. This cigar is well over 10 years old, probably more like 15 years old, and it's just aging beautifully. It's just a Monte Cristo number 4, nothing fancy, you know, but it happens to be one of the cigars I'm most interested in smoking in this entire humidor because of its age and just because of the way it's turned out. The wrapper feels like glass. It's become so smooth that I can't even describe it. I wish you could feel it because it just feels so different than anything. Beautiful, beautiful little cigar. And one day we'll get to smoking that, maybe even on the show. We haven't smoked a Monte 4, why not? You know, Partagas E2, open. We have some double Coronas down here. I have a La Gloria number 1. I have a Partagas Salomon. I have a old Hoya de Monterrey double Corona and an old Punch double Corona that came from that same locker. Again, a very smooth wrapper. I have an old Partagas Lusitanius in here with the old Partagas band. So those are all just some Cuban singles that I ended up keeping in this tray. A couple of Tubos, Punch Monarca, Monte Edmundo, and a couple of the, remember that it's a petite Edmundo and a short Churchill from that silly travel retail selection. There's a third Tubo, a Hoyo, that I'm missing. Anyway, this tray pops out. And here's an example that I want to show you where I keep 3 Boveda bags on top. I keep 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 on the bottom. So 9 in total. But this box needs to be changed maybe once a year. It lasts that long. And that's why I love Boveda. That is why I love Boveda. This tray situation, even in a high quality humidor like this, using the sponge unit would be a nightmare. It would be a nightmare. Look at this. Look at where this tray is, okay? Now, even if I only kept 1 layer of cigars on here, the unit would still be too close. Oh, by the way, we didn't even check. It's at 62 now. I didn't see what it was when I opened it. Hopefully you did. I'm sure it was somewhere right around 70. Now, without having that unit here, I can have the tray loaded with two rows of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So 14 on top. Basically a box of 25 plus cigars in this tray alone. You know, and you can lay Boveda bags right on top of the thing and not even worry about it. As you can see, you don't know this, but these cigars have been in here like this for years. Years. Okay? Years. No mold, no nothing. Beautiful. And on the bottom, I have a similar situation. You can see the arrangement of my Boveda bags also on the bottom. Because the cabinet goes deep, my solution is to slide Boveda bags down on the top and bottom, and that works wonderfully. These cigars right here, you have 1 Boveda bag slid down by the feet and 1 by the heads. Same situation in this compartment. I also lay 1 across the top. And it just bingo bango. How much? Not $27 a year. It's like rent. $27, and it keeps them going for a whole year and then some. A couple of other Cubans down here, some Monte 2s, a Cuaba limited edition, and then a lot of some more regular Padrones, and I'll take out these Exclusivos. I know you don't want to look at those because, you know, I think we've all seen Exclusivos. These are all Exclusivos I'm aging and seeing how they turn out. But if you look under that, you'll see some more very fancy tatuajes and a lot more regular Opus X. So, where my first humidor that I showed you was mid-range, mid to upper range, standard non-Cuban cigars. Then you go to the Elie Bleu and you see very high-end, rare, collectible Padrones and especially Opus X, Fuente cigars, Don Carlos, etc. And in this box, you have you have all your Cubans on the top, and then I have some regular Padron, some regular Opus X, not the real collectible stuff, and a lot of Tatuaje, which is all buried down in the bottom here. For instance, here's a TAA cigar from 2011, and oh my God, look at what's happening to this wrapper. You can see some close-ups on this camera here that this is not mold. It's like white crystally stuff, and if you feel this wrapper has gotten to the point where it feels like sandpaper. It is so rough and oily. This cigar is going to be amazing. I know it. It's just turning out so differently. If you dig down a little deeper, I experiment. I have some more Fuente Padrones, some more Fuente Opus X, but I took the wrappers off. I took the cellophane off. And look at what's happening to this Fuente. Again, not mold. This, my friends, is plume. This is what they mean by plume. A very fine white dusting. Unlike mold, plume, A, covers the cigar fairly evenly, where it'll blanket the whole thing, not just like blotches, B, it's very fine and it does not rub off easily. It's crystally. And C, when you look at it, when you feel it, it tends to make the cigar wrapper feel rough, and this wrapper here, the cigar's not dry. The cigar is fully pliable. It's been at 70 degrees, 70 humidity. It's totally smokable. It's 100%, but the wrapper is it's thickening. It's very, very cool, and it only makes me wish I have about 5 of these down here like that, The one next to it is in a different stage. It's getting there. It's much more oily than it was when I first took the wrapper off many, many years ago. Fuente Opus X cigars don't tend to look oily if you think about it. They have a little sheen to them, but they're not like this. This looks like an oily Nicaraguan now. A lot of oils coming through. Soon those oils will begin to firm and harden, and they'll become crystally, like this plume like this brother right next to it. So we're just going to sit those back in there and leave them alone. And, it makes me wonder. Now, look, if I smoke them, I'm actually hoping they're not that great because there's only 5 of them that I took the cellophane off. If I smoke them and they're the best Opus X's I've ever had, I'm going to be sad I didn't remove the cellophane from the other ones. But hey, better to find out now than never. Then I'll know and I'll recommend. I'll say, look, I smoked these 5 Fuentes that I've stored for over a decade with no cellophane, and they're unbelievable. Let's find out if that's true. Because if it's not, then I would say, you know what, keep the cellophane on. It keeps more flavor in the cigar, etc. Every cigar is different, my friends. You can't just take, one theory and apply it to everything. Yes, removing the cellophane will let the aging process continue a little more quickly, and it will let oils mingle, and there'll be more consistency in a box, but only in a box. You don't want to remove cellophane on cigars that are right next to other cigars. The only reason I remove the cellophane on these is because they're covered and surrounded by Opus X's that are in cellophane. So they're in like their own little chamber deep down in the humidor. Everything in these humidors, that's why you'll see that I'm very careful to put everything back exactly how it is, because everything is designed to age the way I want it to age. There's a lot of experimentation going on in this box. There are a lot of cigars in here that are quite old. Yes, they're standard Padrones, standard Tatuajes, but they have many years on them. Finally, deep down are some old Halloween cigars. Here's a face. Here's one of those, the T110 Tatuaje that's specially made for the shop in Hawaii. And then a small compartment all to itself in the back, in the front here. And it's a small bundle of Barclay Hundreds. This is a little bundle of cigars I'm proud of. 6 cigars, Barclay 100s. They become much harder to get every year. You know, only a very limited number of boxes were made. They were made for the cigar shop, Barclay Rex, in New York City. One of the finest tobacco establishments in the world, really, especially when the shop that I got these from was around and kicking. One day we'll smoke those, and hopefully they'll be as good or better than they were when I first got them. So that's it with this humidor. This humidor is, on this side you have some Verite, Kahonu, tattoo, a lot of tatuaje all the way down. Big tatuajes. Taínos, etc., so on and so forth. So I'm going to close this one up. But, so now you've seen 3 humidors, each using different types of humidification that work in the given environment that they're in. Trust me when I tell you, trays are awesome. Everybody wants a humidor with a tray. But a humidor with a tray, with a hydration unit, very tough. Very, very tough. Really tough. You know, if you're going to do it, the Elie Bleu makes a flat box, and even if you pay attention to the best of the best, Elie Bleu makes a flat box with a tray. But it uses double hydration units. They're thinner, so further away from the tray, and the box itself is much more shallow. So even though the tray is there, there's not that much depth for the humidity to need to get to. You know, a deep box like this with a tray, it's just a bad design to use with a hydration unit. With Boveda bags, it's phenomenal. No problem. And that's the end of that. So I'm going to close this guy up. So that's about it, folks. I hope you have had as much fun as I have. It's been a blast. We did a lot in this episode. You know, we seasoned the humidor, we got it all up and running, and that took days just to let it season up and then get to where it is. We got it working, we filled it with some great Habanos. It's sitting there. I will update you on it later on in the season or some point along the way during the show. We looked at 3 different types of humidors using all different types of humidification methods and different types of construction, and we saw that each one of them works like a dream as long as the correct humidity solution is applied. That's one of the most important things I'm trying to stress here. You can have a $100 humidor, you can have a $1,000 humidor. Don't always think that the solution that comes with the humidor is the right one to use. Humidors are funny things, and humidor companies are funny, and often they make these boxes that make no sense. Really? A giant 150 count super deep box with 1 humidification sponge unit right next to a tray, the tray that's an inch away from it? Really? It's a terrible fucking design. But with Boveda bags, it works like a dream. Beautiful. So that's all I have to say, folks. If you have questions, comments, please leave them. Please send me emails, whatever. We're going to do on our aging series, we're in episode 2. Before we get to the Winador, we're doing one more part for this episode, and it's going to be viewer emails and comments. We're going to sit down, have a cigar, and go over a lot of questions and comments people have had about the aging series thus far. It's going to be really interesting because it has a lot of questions that other people might want answered. Questions about humidification, questions about temperature, questions about environment, questions about dew points, all different things that we've covered, and we're going to talk all about that. So, next time, and until then, keep on smoking.